Hello, YouTube. This is your Passport Bro Wingman coming at you again with another video. And the title of this video is What Will Passport Bros Do When South America is oversaturated with American men? The reason I brought up this topic was because I was watching Austin Holloway's video, and there was, and pretty much during this video, he was having people call in, and as he was calling in, one of the complaints that I guess one of the some feedback that he got from one caller was if everybody follow his advice, and everybody got their passport and they went to South America. He was saying, wouldn't Colombia, Brazil, when these places start looking just like America as far as like the way the women act, and the culture in general, wouldn't become more feminized, and but it sounds like a good argument on the surface, because a lot of people, because I've even seen some passport bros, and people who've been traveling who've had worries about, for the most part, they kind of think that, by them broadcasting and making videos about traveling, that, it's going to become oversaturated. So many men are going to come down and the women are going to have a change in attitude. But what they're not considering is put it this way, there are a lot of factors you got to consider when you think about this. First of all, traveling is not that cheap to begin with. For example, although you can get a cheap flight, let's say to the Dominican Republic or even Colombia, because I think I've seen now some Sprint flights that are about maybe like $300. Also the DR, you could probably get something about $300. But consider going to some of the other countries such as Brazil or even Argentina. Those flights are about $800, $900. Maybe you might find a good special and get it at the right time of the year. Maybe you may be able to get like a $600 flight. So, but consider this: even though even if you were to go to Colombia, DR, $300, people would say, well, the person that work at McDonald's, the guy that work at McDonald's, he can get a $300 flight. He can go down there. So then after a while, right now, I believe in the U.S. we have about like 300 million people, and I just say like half of those people are men. But technically, if you think about it, there's actually more women than men in the U.S. So they're just bringing out even a little bit. And let's say it's about less than 100, and, let's say about 100 mil. So out of 300 mil, about 100 mil are men. And also consider the fact that of this 100 mil, some of these are children. Also consider the fact that some people, I believe, if you owe child support, and also if you owe child support, you have a criminal record, you can't really get a passport. But it's not that many people that have, in comparison to the amount of men in the country that have actually gone to jail. So consider that, to keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that when you go, for example, if you take a trip to Florida, let's say even to Florida, the flight is about 300. I stay in I'm in the northeast region, Baltimore area, that kind of thing. So let's say I take a flight from there to Florida, $300 flight. Keep in mind that when you travel, not only do you got to pay for the plane ticket, you also have to pay for the hotel. So not only do you got to come up with the amount for the plane ticket, you got to come up with the amount for the hotel. Addition to that, you also got to consider how much per day you're going to spend on food. You also got to consider, maybe when you take a trip to Florida or wherever you're going, you're going to want to go, you're going to want to explore and see sights and that kind of thing. So you have that cost in there as well. In addition to that, let's say you do go down there, you meet a few girls, maybe just 3 girls. Depending on how long you stay, consider that while you're there, you're taking this girl out. You're not just eating at McDonald's every single day. Sometimes both of you going out, you might want to take her to a nice restaurant, that kind of thing. And in addition to that, you don't have a car, so now you're paying for cab fare, that kind of thing. What I'm basically saying is, one trip is not just $300. When you take all those other expenses into it, you're talking about a big budget, $700, $800, $900. Keep in mind that the average salary in America is about anywhere about $50,000. And there was a study that they did where they said that most families were about one accident away from being in debt or being on the street. So just in general, people in the US don't really have that kind of money. And for everyone to assume that all these men would just be flying at one time to South American countries, it wouldn't, when you really start to do like some digging and you start to look at the numbers and how much everyone makes, it's not really practical for every man to kind of do that because again, that one little trip, that just say it costs $700, $800. Think about somebody who makes $50,000 a year. They have to pay their rent. They got their car note. They got their lights. In addition to that, you don't know at this time. Maybe they might have a child by some other woman. Maybe they might have a sick mother that they're looking after. So they have expenses back here in the U.S. that will prevent them from just going there. So for them, and then again, when you go down there, you meet somebody. Consider this: you go down there. Let's say you go down there for 2 weeks. You also got to consider that most jobs, unless you work in a remote job, they're not going to let you have that much PTO time off. You're not going to be, for the most part, taking a whole month off of PTO every other month. You're not going to be taking like a couple weeks off every month to go visit like your girl, that kind of thing. So basically what I'm trying to say is it starts to get very costly for most people to do that. So it's not the most practical thing for most people. Most people who are just flying down there frequently, what these people are kind of considering, those type of men in general, you're talking about men who make above, I would say, above at least 75, 80K, something like that, which is not a huge amount of people. I believe only 10% of Americans were making over like 100K. And then you also got to consider what cities do a lot of these people like live in. Because depending on the city, like 100K, for example, in California is not really much. So basically what I'm trying to show you is that overall, most men in general don't really have that kind of money to be, traveling that frequently. Okay, of course, once a year, okay, you get your 2 week PTO. You want to go, oh, I want to go to a fancy, country I've never been before. Let me go to Peru. Let me go to DR. Let me check it out. Of course, yeah, they're gonna, but keep in mind that people have been traveling to South America even before they found, and a lot of times, some people when they're traveling, they're not necessarily just traveling for the women as well. Sometimes people just, taking random, vacations and that kind of thing. But either way, to get back to my point, so keep that in mind, and then also keep in mind that there's so many different countries in South America. Everyone's not going to the same country. Everyone's not just going to DR. You have Ecuador down there. You have Panama City. You have Panama. You have you have Mexico, you know, um, you have Chile, you have all these other little countries. So it's not just all the men rushing to one spot. These men are being spread around. It's just that right now the most popular ones have been, Colombia, Brazil, of course, like DR, that kind of thing. The other thing you got to consider as well is keep in mind that while you're traveling down there and you're going to these countries, within the country itself, as they say, every year there's a new set of 18-year-old women. So their population is growing, and it's not like so while our population is growing as well in the U.S., um, the rate at which so the percentage of men coming from the U.S. to each of these countries, versus the amount of women that are coming of age every single year. I have to do some background studies, but I don't think it's at the same exact rate. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that there's going to be a new pool of women, every year as well. So you got to take that in consideration. Also take in consideration that there's a high, crime is very rampant in some of the South American countries. So keep in mind that some of the men there, they're going to jail. Some of these men are getting killed. Some of these men to find work, they're leaving their country to go to other countries to find work. Some of them like in the military. So you have a whole set of men that are like pretty much you know, pretty much are not going to be within like the dating pool, like within the dating market. And also in general, I believe in certain countries such as Brazil, there already was a disparity between the number of men versus women. There was, and all pretty much across South America in general, there's more women than men in general. Um, and again, the difference within the U.S. versus those other countries is, as I said before, in the United States, although there are more women than men, a lot of these women are obese, and a lot of men in general are not really dating obese women. So as a result, it shrinks the pool of women there. In addition to that, you also got to consider that, yeah. So that's one factor. Versus in other countries such as Brazil, they have their own workout culture there. So you see all the time women running on the beach, people running on the beach. As a result, the pool is going to be even larger. So you actually feel the effect of there being more women than men there. Versus in the U.S., while there may be more women than men, a lot of the women, I believe we have like America has one of the highest obesity rates in the world. So as a result, there's a large pool of women that men are not really dating. As a result, it shrinks the pool. It makes it more competitive for men here. So we don't really get the benefits of having more women than men in the United States. So keep that in mind as well. Um, yeah. So overall, as you can see, when you take that, and also, the other thing as well is, um, and I don't want to keep this video too long, but also keep in mind that in the United States we have things like welfare, public housing. You have like secondhand shops where people can go get clothing, that kind of thing. You have like little food, what do they call them? Like places to go when people are hungry, that kind of thing. In Colombia, Brazil, it's not really like that. Especially in Colombia, if you get pregnant, there's no welfare system. You pretty much the government pretty much makes you fend for yourself. In addition to that, as a result, men's value goes up as a result of that, because a lot of women, in order to survive, they're going to have to look for some type of man for the most part. Um, in addition to that, it's very dangerous in a lot of these countries as well. So women are naturally looking for men who are gentle, sweet, to kind of protect them, that kind of thing. Versus in the United States, police is everywhere. Some cities almost like a police state. So as a result, they don't really need your protection or your finances and that kind of thing. So basically, what I'm trying to say is the culture there in the United States is completely different than these other countries. So even if there were more men there, that's not necessarily going to change the dynamic or the way that women view men, because they're still going to need men's protection, because it's still dangerous when it's there. So you gotta keep that in mind. Also keep in mind that there's also a language barrier as well. So although all these men are flying there, if they don't really speak the language, they're gonna have a hard time finding women, communicating with women, that kind of thing. Um, and in general, um, yeah. So you also got to keep in mind that in order to find somebody there, it's going to take a little bit of time. So, a lot of times when some men are going there, but they're just mostly just going there for, also keep in mind that some of those men that actually go to these countries, some of these men, they also have wives back at home. They have children back at home. They're not necessarily trying to go there to wife up some of the women. Sometimes they're just going out there for hookup culture, to go to some of the clubs, hook up with some of the women, date, that kind of thing. But they're not really, going out there to be serious. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is that, um, it, I don't really see it for the most part becoming like how it is in the U.S. There's a lot of factors that play into this, and men in general in the United States don't really have the money or time to really fly down there all at once, and especially within the same regions. South America is such a big country. It already, as I said before, there's already a disparity between the number of women versus men. And if it was some type of effect, it's going to take a very, very long time. And keep in mind that the United States has really destabilized a lot of these countries. So when you go there, there's like severe, poverty. And a lot of times, a lot of women there, they're really going to be looking for like a guy to provide for them and wife them up, that kind of thing. Um, so yeah, um, yeah, so So in general, to sum things up, I would say don't worry about this. And again, everyone who watches these videos, they're not necessarily going to take it to heart and go out and and go to travel. It's more going to be, these videos more so are going to be for the people who want to put the work in to be able to travel, maybe get like a remote job, that kind of thing. But keep in mind, remote jobs are somewhat hard to find, especially good ones. Every man in America is not going to have a remote job. Every man in America is not going to leave. Keep in mind that you have Chads, Tyrones in America, and they're doing just fine in America. You know, think about the celebrities. So you also got to consider that some of the men in America are satisfied with the way things are. They don't really have that many issues. So as a result, you still have a big pool of men in the United States that even with the opportunity to leave, they're not going to leave. So you got to take that to heart as well. So with that being said, I'm going to sum up. I'm going to finish up this video. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to my channel. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the notification bell. And until next time, this is your boy. This is your passport bro wingman signing off.